If you Google tips on getting a job, you will get garbage. Things like tap your network. This works in theory, but for starters, I know nobody. And I wasn't blessed with a handsome dad with a great job to give me. If you stop tapping and take the advice of networking generally, yeah, this works. But humans are horrifying creatures whom I have no idea how to converse with. So, how do you get a job? Lucky for you, when I was trying to become overemployed, I made every single mistake in the book. I went from hammering LinkedIn one-click applies to developing a 3-step strategy that actually works. I started getting multiple interviews a day and got job offers from 30% of my interviews. If you're new here, welcome to Every Second, where I try to optimize my life and tell you only the best nuggets that I've found to help us all get more from every second. In this video, let's optimize the hiring process, starting with in 2021, I was hooked on the idea of overemployment. I'd hollowed out the responsibilities of my job to do just what I was hired for and nothing else. So now I had time to pick up a second job. I was getting tons of emails from recruiters, but the interviews were not flowing in as I expected them to. At a certain point, I considered just giving up. Maybe it wasn't for me. Around this time, I picked up a book, The Third Door by Alex Banayan. The book paints a picture. You're trying to enter the hottest club in town. The queue stretches around the block. Most people line up in the queue to go through the front door. In this case, this would be applying on LinkedIn. If you're a VIP, there's another door, completely inaccessible from the public and usually involves a secret tunnel of sorts. This would be if you have a parent or family member in the company. But what most people don't consider is that there's always a third door. If you run behind the building, jump through a window. While this may sound like it's condoning trespassing, the moral is, be tactical, find another way. Here's a list of ways that our application can stand out from the pack. My favorite of which being making a video. But this can be tough if you're camera shy like myself. So instead, you can do something like creating a website. Now I can hear you saying, I don't know how to make a website. That's fine. Tap into other people's skills. Even if you haven't done anything with your life, dressing up the fun projects that you've worked on in your free time or any previous work experience on a website makes it present so much better than this. Basically, any way that you can differentiate yourself from the pack pays dividends. Okay, but let's say you're not going to do any of that. This is your application, that's fine. It will still work. But before you send that stinky thing off to anyone, do this first. Most of the time you're getting denied before a human even reads your resume. This is because of ATS, or the applicant tracking system. Basically, it's an advanced version of keyword matching. It takes the job description and identifies key traits, then checks your resume to see if it has enough of these traits. If not, it will deny you automatically. Now, if they're using tech, we should also embrace it. Go to an online job board. It can be any job board, even LinkedIn. Find all the jobs you want to apply for. I just open a metric ass ton of tabs, let's say 25 to start off with. Then, copy and paste those job descriptions into one of these websites, upload your resume, and it will tailor your resume for that exact job posting. This will ensure that you get past the robot phase. If you're unsure or think your resume is dog shit, again, tap into the expertise of other people. You can have your resume professionally written, and if you don't want to spend any money, at least get it reviewed through these sites. Remember, this should be treated as an investment. You could have all the best skills and be the most qualified applicant, but if your resume looks like this or this, nobody's gonna hire you. Doing all of this takes extra work, but you've been applying and it hasn't worked, so maybe a different strategy might. Let's get to applying. My strategy went something like this. It's a multi-pronged attack. For starters, targeted strikes. These are the companies that you really want to work for. Tailor your resume and use the strategies we discussed to differentiate yourself. Another unspoken hero when it comes to applying is the cover letter. Now, it is an absolute pain in the butt to write cover letters. I know that, but we're only going to have to write a few. And a hot tip for writing cover letters is to use AI tools. The ones I have used are Kick Resume and Copy AI. Most of the time the writing is horrible, but it gets you over the blank page curse in writing. Now, when you write a cover letter, don't include anything that's already on your resume. Instead, tell a story. I deeply want to hate it, but it's a numbers game. That being said, there are better job boards than LinkedIn, such as find the one that has the most jobs in your field and set up alerts for your specific search criteria. If you can follow part 1 and 2, you will get an interview. I can guarantee that. If not, keep tweaking your resume and tap into other people's expertises. That being said, you still won't get a job if you bomb. Preparing is key, both that the interviewer asks you and what you ask them. You can actually find the questions that they might ask you. Check on these sites. And ideally, you want to have written out answers for all of these questions in the form of a story. You see a theme here. People love stories. We can't help but listen. The more mundane, the better actually. The best stories are not about robbing a bank, but rather about little life moments that we can all relate to. Then, make sure you know the company. This only takes 10 minutes, but understand how the company makes money. What are the lines of business? What are the upcoming challenges they face? Future projects that they're working on? Who are their competitors? This might sound like a waste of time, but it helps you a lot when you start to. You can have the absolute best interview of your life, but if at the end they ask you, do you have any questions? And you say, no, I don't think so. You're not getting hired. You should have a list of questions that you ask at every single interview. These are the questions that I almost always ask. All of these questions show that you genuinely care about the job, even if you don't. And my favorite cheat code question, which is a little risky to ask, but gives you major props, is make sure to mix in company-specific questions using the research that you did. And if you don't know what to ask specifically about the company, give the job description to Uncle ChatGPT and ask if it can generate specific and professional sounding questions. At the end of the interview, always ask what the next steps in the interview process are. If you do all of these things, I can't imagine that someone wouldn't hire you. Best of luck out there in this mean world. And if you're curious about how I worked multiple jobs at the same time, check out this video. And worst case, follow this advice.